Hey everyone, welcome to this video. In this one, I'm going to do another sort of photo chat, going through some of the photos that I took recently. This one is about photos from the city of Sydney. So I'll show you some iconic sites, etc. And this time I shot on the Fuji X-T4 with the 18-55 f2.8-4 kit lens. And I used the Fuji X Weekly Nostalgia Color recipe, which I really like lately. So all the photos are sort of straight from the camera other than cropping them a little bit and adjusting exposure only. So not highlights or shadows, just exposure if I didn't quite nail it. So basically they are straight out of camera other than cropping and exposure. So we'll start with the first photo. This one is the one you're seeing on the screen now, which is a bit of a strange picture, but I just really like the way it looks. It's shot out of a car, so you're getting the reflection of the interior of the car front, but you're also seeing a building and some lights. It's got not really any subject or anything interesting, but I just really like the way the colors came out, so I thought I'd include it. It's probably not a good picture to start on, but I don't know, there's something about the texture, the colors, and just the sort of nothingness but somethingness of it. The next photo is the same sort of shot, but this time I managed to actually get the focus right, and it's just a worker working, the same kind of hazy effect, which I really like. Didn't really get this composition right. As you can see, the truck is cut off there. But I think it kind of suits the picture. Obviously, we were moving, so it was a little bit hard to get it all right. And what happened was I saw the way that first picture looked, and I really liked it. And I thought, oh, I better get something into the frame, and this is what came out. So this next shot is just out of the car again. This time it's a shot of the buildings, and I've got, luckily there, the Sydney Tower right in the middle. You can probably just see it in the distance. It's one of the, I think it is the second tallest tower in the southern hemisphere, I think, a viewing tower. I think it stands at, if I remember correctly, 309 meters or 1,014 feet above the central part of Sydney. So it's often a point of interest for visitors where you can take a lift up there and have a look at Sydney City from above. It's pretty cool. I haven't been there for a while, but I definitely want to go back soon, and I'll try and make a video if I go up there and take some photos as well. It's had lots of different names, so I think currently it's called Sydney Tower or Sydney Tower Eye, but it's gone through various different names, I think, depending on who ran it or owned it, from what I understand. In this shot, I'm just trying, saw this puddle and I thought, oh, I'll try for a reflection, but it didn't really, nothing really came out of it. Basically, there was just a tree there, and so it was a little bit far from the road to see anything else. But anyway, I had a go at it. I think reflections are a really nice way of learning about photography, because you get this sort of element that's a bit of a surprise, and you don't really know how it's going to turn out until you bring the camera down there and sort of assess the scene. So this is another reflection there, similar or the same puddle. I can't remember now which one it was on the day, but again, I couldn't quite get what I wanted there. And also the darks versus the lights in this recipe were a little bit tricky. I see the sky is really blown out there and the dark points are quite dark, so I couldn't quite get it right. Also using a Tiffen Black Pro Mist on this, so that could be the reason that some of the pictures were a little bit overblown. I'll have to try it without that and just see if that makes a difference. This one here, I just really like the way the trees were against the building, but I found that with the 18-55, I just couldn't get out far enough. You can probably see that I'm on the edge of the footpath there. So yeah, a wider lens would have been good. There's been a few times where I'm craving that wider perspective, so I might need to invest in a Fuji lens that's a little bit wider. I don't know which one to go with, whether to go with the zoom or maybe just get the 16 in the, I think it's a 1.4, isn't it? Just another building here, nothing special. Not really happy with this shot, but I just thought it had this element of artificial lights with natural light, and I just thought it would look really cool, like having that, like a tunnel there. But because I haven't edited any of these, normally in Lightroom I would, use some gradient filters on the outside to focus the eye in, but it's sort of almost your eye is going against what I'm trying to create there. Like it's moving out of the corridor. I feel that when I look at it, I look in and then I want to come out to the lightness. But the idea of the photo was to go into the tunnel. So it didn't quite work out, but the idea was there. Also, the composition's a bit weird because it's on a hill. So where do you straighten to? I mean, I straightened to the door there, but then the path is kind of off. And also the numbers going like backwards, that, I don't know, it's a bit weird. The whole thing's just a bit upside down. This photo here is, I was thinking to talk about the next one. There's two that are the same, but this one I shot vertically, which I don't do a lot because I guess my inspiration is kind of like from the movie world where they shoot horizontal always, and I still can't decide whether to shoot both or whether I'm limiting myself. I don't know. It's just really tricky with the social platforms. A lot of them, as you know, are vertical, and it's a tricky thing to negotiate when your aim is to shoot horizontal, but the platforms are all vertical. So anyway, on and off, I'm trying to shoot different ways, but then, how do you show it once you've want to make a slideshow or whatever? It's almost like you have to shoot for one platform and for the other. If you've got any interesting ideas about how you deal with that, let me know, because I'm still sort of tossing up whether to just shoot one way or another or mix them up, which seems to be even more work. Anyway, this is a shot from above a train platform at Circular Quay in the sort of harbour side of the city. And I just like the way the light was. I'll show you the next photo, which is the horizontal, but again, I'm too zoomed in here. I think I shot this at around 30 mil, which I should have, zoomed out, but then there was these columns, so I couldn't quite get this composition right, but I did like the way the shadows and the lights were in there, and I love the colors of this film simulation. It's just so, like, it is what it is, nostalgic. This one is, I just put it in just for fun. I'm doing the whole, like, either shooting 24 exposures or 36, so as if it is a roll of film. So I just thought I'd include this as part of the 36. It is another reflection. It didn't quite come out. My focus and exposure wasn't quite right, but I tried to work with this fence, and then there was a sort of glassy reflection. I think the concept was good, but the execution just didn't quite come out. But it was good to try. I like sharing with you things that didn't work out, because then, it's not always about perfection, and sometimes you learn from the mistakes. So here we have the iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge. Probably could have straightened that out a little bit more. It's always really tricky to shoot when you're sort of at different angles and trying to get that horizon right. I like this one. I'm trying to shoot through a fence again just to see what sort of it does to the composition. I guess I like the sort of hazy frame at the front. Again, it feels a little bit blown out. I'll show you the next picture, which is the same kind of thing without the fence. I don't know. Let me know which one you prefer, first one or the second one. So there's a few of these. I probably took about 7 or so. Couldn't quite nail it. The car is just not quite sharp enough, but I've got 3 to show you. So this is working on panning, so where you're following the car with your camera and you're turning to try and get the blurry background but the car in focus. I shot this in 1/15th of a second. I'll show you the next one. That was 2 cars. I really liked the way this was framed and the way it looked, but unfortunately it was blurry, but I thought I'd include it anyway. And one more with the red. They're all at 1/15th. I just wasn't really stable enough, I guess, to catch it. steady and still, but it takes practice to get this right and sort of to track the car at the right speed, because you're both moving, I'm moving, and the car is moving. I did like the red, I think, the most, although the bike on the car was good and the two cars were good, so I just thought I'd throw them all in. This is back up the top, where also the cars were shot, because there's a road up there. There was a fence sort of on that bridge, not on the Harbour Bridge, but on the one above the Circular Quay, where you could see people. I thought it was a cool sort of idea. I'm not sure whether the execution of it was that great, but I sort of like it. It's like a bird's eye view of people moving around, probably a little bit blown out on the shadows again. But overall, I don't mind this picture. It's kind of angular. I don't know. It's got a lot of things going on in it. This one here is the train. So we climbed up to the top of that road, and coming down, we saw a train coming. So I thought, oh my gosh, got to take this picture, and quickly rushed to do it. Probably didn't really take my time with the composition, but it's nice. You can see a little bit of reflection on the windows there. It was a good idea. I think it could have been even better had I waited there a little bit longer, but we were in a bit of a rush to get a few things done, so I had to sort of just take the picture and move on. This one I saw this archway, and then, the view of the rocks, I think that's pointing to, is like an area in the city of Sydney. And I thought, oh, this would look cool, but yeah, again, the darks are a bit dark and the lights are a bit light. So the idea was good, but I think I could have maybe come closer, and probably because I had the camera set at 16:9 ratio, these pictures are not, these long ones are a bit sort of almost too long. I tried to cut this in post to 5:4 or 4:3, but it just didn't look right because I had framed it for the 16:9. So I think it could have been, a little bit of a wider framing. So it looks elongated. This one, I think, again, I could have gone wider, but this is already at 18, so it's as wide as I could go on the day. Probably could have moved back, but then there'd be too many people probably. This was lucky that you could see here. It's hard to see, but at the bottom of the stairs there's a barrier, so that's why there's no one on there. Usually behind me there was more steps, and there's many, many people. So this is obviously the Sydney Opera House, and some of the, I don't know what they call it, wings of it or whatever it is. The arches. Really cool architectural building. Definitely worth a visit if you're ever in Sydney. And this is still at the Opera House, but now looking back, if you watched my last video, I think it was I did some shots near the water where they've set up a stage for the Phantom of the Opera. And this is sort of looking back on that. So I think it was in the last video or the one before, that I was actually standing right there at the other side that I'm photographing this picture. I like the shot. It's got the rule of thirds going on, bit of sky. It looks moody and grainy, like it is, film-like. And this is a little bit higher. You can see I've zoomed out even more, moved back. You can still see that Phantom of the Opera in the back there, but you're getting more of a scene there. The Naval Base, Australia, Sydney Naval Base on the left, and then on the right where the green is the Royal Botanical Gardens, where I did some photos a couple of videos back. So if you're interested in those, that's where they were done. And this is at the Sydney Opera House steps. So to get to the Opera House, you climb up quite a few steps, and this is sort of the vantage point from the top. I don't normally photograph people, but they were far enough here to sort of not be recognizable, and I think this picture is like one of my favorites out of this set. I just like it. It's almost like it's at a beach, but it's not. And this is we're now looking back from the Opera House to the city, where I took all those other pictures at the train station and etc. So that body of water that you can see is at the end of that is where I was photographing the first lot of pictures. That's where we started our walk. And now to the left of us will be the gardens, etc. This is walking back from the Opera House. So when you walk back, there's like a little walkway back to Circular Quay where the ferries and boats and things go from. And there's a little cinema there. I just thought it was nice. There's someone walked through the frame there and got a reflection as well. Definitely would have liked this to be wider. But yeah, again, I was a bit tight on space there. This one I just thought, oh, what's happening when you look up? And then I took this picture. Actually, later in post, I'm just looking on the right-hand side between the trees there. Is that a camera or a light or what? But if it is a camera, it'd be pretty cool, like as if it's looking back on me. And there's that bit of sun bouncing there as well in the bottom frame. This one is shot at 18, and yeah, I really need to go wider here for the building to sort of really shine and see all the edges of it. I'm trying to learn to look at my frame a little bit more, but sometimes I feel a bit rushed, if you're with other people, etc. So I try and scan my eye around the frame just to make sure I'm not cutting anything off. But I'm finding in photography there's so many things to check, your thirds, your lines, your diagonals, your shadows, it's just never ending. And I feel like you really need a couple of good minutes to check everything. So I might try and do some walks that are a bit more chill, where I actually can stand in one spot for a few minutes, like observe and then shoot. This is back at Circular Quay, so we've come sort of from where that building is back to the main part of where the ferries leave from, etc. And there's a building there called the Customs House, just sort of to the right of where I'm taking this picture from, which I have the next two shots are from inside there. I didn't take, I should have taken more of a picture of the inside to give you an idea. But so the previous picture was the actual Customs House that we're now about to go into. And so this next frame here and the one after, which I'll show you in a sec, is what they've done in there on the ground floor is you walk in and they've created this platform, as you can see in this picture, that it's glass that you walk on, but underneath is a model of the city. I'll flip to the next one. So there's another, I should have taken this a little bit wider and further back so that you could get an idea of what it looked like as a whole. But basically it's several meters by several meters, like a big lounge room, and underneath is the whole model of the city, like the central business district, all the way from one side to another. And I don't know, I really like models, like miniatures and stuff, so it's just a really cool place to visit. If I go back there, I'll try and take a few more shots. I was a bit nervous using the camera. I should have probably asked whether I'm allowed or what, but as there's a concierge guy that sits there, or girl, depending on whatever shift they're doing, they're closely watching everyone. It's sort of like an important building, I guess. And here we are back. So this is the main sort of street in the city called George Street. And on the left-hand side is a very famous building called the Queen Victoria Building. And that's the newish, I guess, a few years old now. They've put in trams. So this road used to be a full road of cars, when I was younger, etc. And now they've cut out the cars. Well, I think some taxis can still go there or whatever, but it's now like a tram, or they call it light rail. It's a really good system, actually. You just pop on, scan your card, pop on and get on and off whatever stop. So you don't have to, it's not like a bus. It's really easy to use. And this is another shot just going, sort of having the tram, train, light rail at a different angle there. And you can see the tracks and the other one coming back. And a bit more of a shot of the Queen Victoria Building on the left with those green big arches. Not arches, what are they? Domes. And this is inside the Queen Victoria Building, so you can see the sort of artwork. And again, I was a bit shy to shoot up, but if you looked up into one of those green domes, it's like that. It's all this amazing art that just looks so cool and old. And yeah, this shot sort of doesn't do justice to what it actually is, but when you look out from it, you can see the street plus these glass panels. So I'll definitely have to go back there and reshoot this. Hopefully we can see my progress as time goes on when I take some of these repeated shots later on with all these things in mind, that the mistakes that I can correct. This here spotted just this little alleyway with the lights. I don't think the photo does it justice. It looked really nice, but I just couldn't quite nail the lights, and then I've shot this at 16:9, converted it to 4:5. That person walked through the frame. I thought the blue was kind of cool, but it almost takes away from the lights. I don't know. Not too happy with this picture, but definitely something to work on there. Just thinking about, where do you draw the exposure from? This one here, just a really quick shot while I'm walking with some other people. This is the Strand, so it's opposite the Queen Victoria building, and just the fact that it's built in 1891, it's just such an old building in Australian terms, so it still stands as quite beautiful in there. But again, I didn't take any pictures, I don't think, inside. This is back on the street, just walking past the Rolex shop. I thought this picture turned out nice. I don't know, I just like the way it's kind of a building, then the sky, and then this watch, which I think I did a good job of photographing it, other than maybe that little reflection at the front. But it's like these two worlds colliding with time. Just a look up shot. So this is the tower. You can see this is not a great shot, but anyway, you can see the little, like, the structure of it. It's really cool. Like, I think the architecture in the city of Sydney, the Harbour Bridge, the Opera House, and this tower are just really cool in the way they're designed. Like, I really like buildings and the way the architects just push, the dimensions and stuff and create something unusual. It's just a shop window, trying my reflection, sort of, again, too tight. I like that the cars are there, but it's sort of, the eye just is not leading to the right spot. But nevertheless, there's some really nice window decorations or advertisements across the city, which are worth looking at. And that brings us to the end. Yeah, it wasn't like the most amazing slideshow, photo show, whatever, 36 exposures, but I think it's worth putting them up and chatting about them. Just, I find that I learn a lot just sort of reflecting back on my photos rather than just, putting it up and putting it away. If you go through them and look at them and actually have to talk about them to someone, you start to see the errors and also the good things, which sometimes are hard to find when you're just a beginner. But yeah, I'm just working on it, trying out different lenses and different ways of shooting, and hopefully things will improve and I'll do some more photo talks. Let me know if you prefer me talking over the photos, or if you like the sort of the last few that I put up, which are just to music, just the photos, trying out different film simulations, or whether you like a bit of both. Also, I sometimes feel like I'm talking more about the city and the location than the actual picture, but I guess that's just me. I'm there for both, the photography and the sightseeing. So hopefully you're here for that too. Let me know. Say hello or say something in the comments. I like that you are all engaging with my content, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'm sort of determined to try and get to 10,000. Just stick with one topic. I've done a lot of on and off stuff. Like I go with one thing then another. I'm just trying to stick with one thing so that the channel grows a little bit more. And yeah, I'll talk to you in the next video. Yeah, see you then. Bye.